One-shotting bosses is a term used by Path of Exile players to describe builds that deal lots of damage. But, can you actually one-shot bosses?
How boring and small.
Now, is there a drawback to any of this? Well, this build is not the best of mappers, for obvious reasons. As you can see, we hit hard, but slow. This means that you can be taken out by regular map monsters while winding up your next attack. But what is your attack? We are utilizing Ice Crash. Since it's considered a slam, it can deal a massive single hit damage thanks to specific support from gems that are limited to slam skills. We also have War Cries, which when stacked together correctly can quadruple our damage for a few attacks. From here, we go with the best damage node Ascendancy in the entire game, Inquisitor. Inquisitor provides the best damage support compared to any other Ascendancy for crit based builds. As a start, we go with Righteous Providence. This node gives us 1% crit chance for every one of our lowest attributes between Strength and Intelligence. In our specific case, this results in 200% increased global critical strike chance. From here, we go with Inevitable Judgment. This node ignores enemy monster resistances with critical strikes. This is basically 1% more damage boost for every 1% crit chance you have. Bosses cuts your elemental damage in half thanks to their 50% elemental resistances, and now you don't have to worry about any of that with this node. Next on the list we have both Sanctuary and Pious Path. These are generic consecrated ground nodes taken for their extra life regen, immunity to elemental ailments, and increased damage taken to enemies while they are standing on your consecrated ground. As you guys have seen, that was a pretty generic Inquisitor Ascendancy for any crit build. From here I decided to design a passive tree that goes alongside this Ascendancy. This one is focused around crit nodes like crit chance and crit multi. We also have life, shield attack nodes, and elemental damage nodes. From here we have two large cluster jewel setups. The first one is focused on shield nodes, and it has some strong notables like Strike Leader, Drive the Destruction, and Martial Prowess. The second one is centered around elemental damage nodes. This one adds some notables like Vengeful Commander, Prismatic Heart, and from here we branch off to medium cluster jewels, and each one of them adds crit nodes like Precise Retaliation and Basics of Pain. And that was basically it for our passive tree and its cluster jewels. Now if we stop here, even with mirror tier weapon and other items, we still won't be able to one-shot bosses despite our high focus on powerful crits. So, I decided to use no weapon. Yes, you did hear me correctly. After doing some research, I found out that I can do more damage with unarmed attacks thanks to Facebreaker unique gloves. Shout out to Mathil for inspiring me to use them after I have found out that he have already done a similar build like mine few leagues ago. You can check his version and his channel, link in the description. Anyway, Facebreakers gives you up to 800% more physical damage at the cost of not being able to use a weapon. Some people might think this is a disadvantage, but this is actually an advantage. You will end up dealing more damage at the end, while having one less item to worry about. However, things aren't as simple as just equipping these pair of gloves and then proceeding to one-shot everything. You see, one of the biggest issues with builds that use Facebreaker is that they have no base damage to speak of. And in order to scale your damage in builds like these, you will have to invest into items that gives you flat physical damage to attacks. One such item is Abysses. This meme helm is usually used by builds that want to deal lots of damage at the cost of their survivability. In this build, however, that's mandatory and not optional, because we really need that flat physical damage that this helm provides. You also get the added benefit of massive bonuses to crit multi, and you will get even more damage with the dedicated Ice Crash enchant, and that is 15% of Fist to Cold, which is not going to charge you a lot on this helm. Our next item is Lore Weave. This piece of chest gives us lots of base physical damage, global crit chance, and increased elemental damage along the way. That's one of the best chests in the game for increasing the damage of this build in particular. This chest also provides us with some defensive stats, like 3% to our maximum elemental resistances, and some life. Our next item also provides us with lots of base damage. This one is Warden's Brand. This ring is somewhat designed for our build in particular. Lots of added physical damage, and reduce attack speed. We don't care about attack speed in a build that only needs a single hit to one-shot everything. Our second ring is a rare steel ring with tier 1 flat fizz and Assassin's Mark curse on hit. From here, having life, crit multi, and crafted damage is nice to have. You generally care about flat physical damage roll above all else. Next, for our amulet, it's Rigwald's Curse. This amulet will resolve our base crit problem. Unarmed attacks have no base crit chance to speak of, and as such, without this amulet you won't be able to play this build. Now this one always drops corrupted, and as such the only way to anoint it using your oils is by utilizing the new tainted oil that GGG have released with the 3.14 update. You need only one to be able to allocate assassination on this amulet in order to boost the damage potential of your critical strikes. Our next item is Lycoside Unique Shield. We mainly use this one for its True Strike mod. With it, you won't have to worry about annoying concepts like hit chance and accuracy rating. Next we have rare boots with movement speed, resistances, tailwind and elusive, and crafted life. Honestly, elusive is not required here. However, you should try to get tailwind alongside the 16% increased attack speed lab enchant, otherwise your mapping experience is going to suffer. Finally, we have a belt with lots of life, resistances, and as many attack modifiers as possible. Any jewel socket you have available in this build should be used for an abyssal jewel like this one. Again, we need added flat physical damage anywhere possible. And if you don't want to use an abyssal jewel, then here's an example for a good normal jewel instead. You should focus on missing resistances first, and then life. After that, you should fill the remainder of your empty affixes with crit multi modifiers. For your Watcher's Eye, mine have increased crit multi while affected by precision, and increased life recovery rate while affected by vitality. Nothing too fancy or expensive. But with that, we are basically done with our items and jewels. Now let's talk about gem links. There are 3 mandatory setups that we have in this build. These are our main 6 link, our aura setup, and our Warcry setup. So let's start with our main 6 link. In it we have Ice Crash, elemental damage with attacks, Fist of War support, melee physical damage, Pulverize, and Inspiration. Swap Inspiration for Ruthless once you are planning to one-shot a boss. Next on the list we have a 4-link aura setup. This one includes Hatred, Herald of Purity, Blood and Sand, and level 1 Precision. Our last mandatory gem setup contains Seismic Cry, Intimidating Cry, and Urgent Orders. Both of our Warcry gems have anomalous quality, and that combined with Urgent Orders will allow you to Warcry fast enough while mapping without having to worry about being stationary for too long in order to be one-shotted by enemies. Now just using the gems I recommended and using your Warcries randomly is not going to be sufficient to one-shot everything. There is actually a sequence of moves that you need to follow in order to prepare a deadly one-hit attack. This sequence starts with Seismic Cry, then we attack once, then we swap our Inspiration gem for Ruthless, then we attack 2 more times, and finally we use Intimidating Cry. Now most bosses in Path of Exile gives you a chance to prepare yourself before engaging them, and during that period of time you will try to perform this sequence correctly. And if you have done so, the damage of your next attack will require a team of mathematicians to calculate. However, it should be along the range of 150 to 250 million depending on the damage roll for that hit. Now BOB does not consider war cries or ruthless hit when calculating our damage. Thus I took it upon myself to do that. I could have been off by a few millions, but the fact that I have one-shotted Cirrus in the last phase proves that my hit damage is at least 150 million, so I shouldn't be off by a lot. But with that being said, we are basically done with this video. Now, do I think that this build is balanced? Absolutely. And yes, I am saying that because I don't want GGG to destroy it like every other build they get their filthy hands on. Anyway, if you have liked this video, then don't forget to like it, and maybe show some love in the comment section, or maybe even subscribe so you don't miss out on any future build guides like this one. My name is Phoenix, and I will see you all in the next video.